public hearing. I swear I can hear them laughing in the back. I thought I heard quiet. You may be onto something. Do you know what I'm saying? It's important.
Welcome to the May 21st, 2025 Lowell School Committee meeting, 6:30 City Council Chamber. Please join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mr. Conway.
Here.
Mr. Rossi.
Here.
Ms. Doherty.
Here.
Mr. Lay. Ms. Martin. Mayor Rourke.
Here.
Mr. Bahu.
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
Section 3, minutes. A motion to approve the special and regularly scheduled Lowell School Committee meeting minutes of May 7th, 2025, and place them on file by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Doherty. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 4, permission to enter, May 21st, 2025. The motion to approve the permission to enter by Mr. Conway, second by Mr. Rossi. Questions? Ms. Doherty. No, okay. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Mr. Rossi.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Mr. Lay. Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Mr. Bahu.
I'm sorry, I think I have one question about it before I vote yes. As far as Nick's Luxury Transportation, it looks like there's 3 years here, FY '26, FY '27, and FY '28, for permission to enter. Why are we voting on all 3 years?
Okay.
I'm going to refer the question to Dr. Hall, please.
Ms. Bowyer, that reflects the contract and the bidding and the response, so the city is requiring us to put the cost for all 3 years down for transparency.
Okay, so it's simply the contract that we're voting on, not necessarily funds.
Those figures will go into the contract, yes.
Okay, thank you, yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
Now we need a motion to recess back into the budget hearing by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call for that? Roll call?
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Mr. Rossi. No, just say
Yes.
yes. Yeah. Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Mr. Lay. Ms. Martin. Yes. Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Mr. Bahu.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
Section 5, unfinished business, 5.1, public budget hearing. Now do it again.
I'm sorry, but yes.
All right, now we need another roll call because we are returning from recess for the May 14th budget hearing. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Bahu.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Mr. Rossi.
Yes.
Ms.
and thank
Doherty?
you. Yes.
Mr. Lay. Ms. Martin. Yes. Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
6 present, 1 absent.
Okay, returning to the budget hearing, go to registered speaker.
Paul Georges.
I think everybody knows who I am, and thank you for letting me speak. I spoke at the last hearing on this, the last budget hearing. It's still astounding to me to see increase in state aid by $18 million and still have a shortfall and find the city manager asking for a $4 million give back. How much does it take? I mean, I understand the argument, but I've seen, look, I've been doing this job almost 35 years. It just seems to be a legacy here where the city relies on money coming in Chapter 70 money and other sources for education to balance its books very often. The accountability issue that Ms. Doherty talked about last week, I think is extremely important. What do we have for checks and balances to determine whether or not what the city says it pays in contributions, in-kind contributions, is accurate? I mean, is this, you get a report once a year. You go back and look at it through the whole year and figure out how much they actually did per month. Wouldn't it make a heck of a lot more sense to break that up into a monthly report? And perhaps, one thing I might suggest to you, and I think it would be important, it would be to ask for the help from the state auditor, Diane DeZoglia, to come into the city and look at the books. Now, I understand that can't be done simply by you taking a vote, but it goes along with, it takes two groups to take a vote, affirmative, and one would be the school committee and the city council. And I think the school committee would probably back it, because I don't think there's anything we have to hide here. There might be some resistance on the other side, because the other side seems to be benefiting a heck of a lot for money that's been earmarked for education. To the point even that I've discussed before, which had to do with the cost of modular classrooms. The school department should not have been in a position to be requested to how can I put it, to be responsible for making sure there were adequate seats for every child to sit in the district. That's unfortunate, because if the city had taken that up as a serious cause initially, we would have had more talented people, more paraprofessionals, more teachers, more specialists, school psychologists that our kids needed the most, particularly after the pandemic. So it's a trade-off. And the trade-off doesn't benefit the students. And that's my advocacy is for the students in an effective school system. So I'd ask you to consider perhaps taking a vote, whether tonight or some other time, on this, to invite the auditor for the state of Massachusetts to come in and at least give a fresh look at the books. And if not, at the very least, I think it'd be a good investment to hire someone that could do it. On every construction job I ever worked on before I became a teacher, there was always a clerk of the works. And the clerk of the works kept track of the money and the amount of time put into various projects to make sure that nobody was being overcharged. We've got a budget of, what, $300 million, close to it? It would seem wise to be able to have somebody look at that with fresh eyes and advise you on whether or not, on a monthly basis or something similar to that, you'd sign off for things that the city says it has contributed and the value of that over a year, instead of looking back in retrospect from 12 months ago. So I'm just asking you to, the accountability aspect to me is extremely important. Now, there's been some gamesmanship played with asking the Public Employee Committee, the PEC, because we have money that's saved from years past that we use as a buffer in case increases in co-pays and deductibles hurt any individual who's a city employee. So they're able to come back if they hit a certain threshold of money they have to pay to be replenished. But it was suggested by the city manager that we should take $2 million of the $3 million we have left and give it to the city. I'm just saying, okay, good gamesmanship. Why? Why would we do that? The second thing was to force people to take their sick leave buyback at the end of the year in 2 allotments. That sounds reasonable enough, and sometimes it's a tax saving thing to the individuals. However, in the second year, do we have any guarantee that the city manager isn't going to cut the budget again? And we're not only going to be paying for 1 year's worth of sick leave buyback, but a year and a half's? I mean, that could be another $700,000 in the second year, as I do my simple math on this stuff. So I think it's important there be some oversight so we feel comfortable with what we're doing going forward. Again, how much did we spend on modular classrooms? We ended up paying something around $10 million. We ended up paying for two modular classrooms in Colley Stadium. We ended up buying a parochial school for $2.4 million. That all of those things, the assets that I just said to you, don't belong to us. They belong to the city of Lowell. Was it a loan we were giving them because they didn't have the money? If it's a loan, then get back the money now that you need to balance the budget, to make sure we don't have any layoffs. But again, in keeping with what I'd heard many of you speak about, if you make any cuts, certainly don't make them in the classroom. That's where the magic takes place. Have to keep and put ourselves in a better position to bring in more people to help more kids. So that's all I wanted to say, but just give you an idea too about it, whether or not, I think it's important accountability, so you feel comfortable and everyone feels comfortable. And if there's resistance on the part of the city council, maybe that says something too. Thank you very much.
Returning to the budget hearing, 5.1, on to page 20, 2352, professional development. The motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and to approve the bottom line figure of $4,074,805 by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Lay. Ms. Doherty.
I'm sorry, I'm wondering if we should have some discussion about the new information that was provided to us before we just go immediately into page by page.
If you want to do it, good.
Because I had some questions, if we could.
Floor is yours.
Is that okay? So I noticed, and I thank you for the response to the motions, asking for more information. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the tiered cuts that the superintendent has provided us. And I noticed that we're looking at $3 million would be the most that we'd be putting back. So you have already cut $1 million that you won't be recommending that we put back even if we had the funds. Is that correct?
For the purposes of the discussion we're having, yes. Obviously, we need more money, but this set of tiers, in other words, if we get more than $3 million, we won't need tiers. We'll just be able to restore what's lost in the budget.
Right. Okay, so on the tier that, number 5, that would be $3 million restored, you have a summer school, $94,862. So is that an add-on, an expansion? We're still going to have summer school, even without that, right?
That's correct.
So what is the difference in putting another $100,000 into summer school?
So last year we spent $1 million on summer school. We actually overspent that. We set aside $1 million and we overspent that. This year, I don't have it right in front of me, but it's in our budget book. We plan to spend $560,000. This is an amount that's in a slimmed down summer school. In other words, if we have the funding restored, we'd like to have the full summer school. And the $94,862 that's listed is the additional amount we would need to have a more full summer school experience.
So what do you mean by slimmed down summer school versus a full summer school? I mean, are we still going to have summer school at every school? Or are we going to open it up to more sites? I mean, I'm just trying to understand the difference that $100,000 would make.
I'm wondering if Ms. Fox-Roy, can you explain a little bit of the difference between a reduced summer school and a more expansive one?
So by reduced, do you mean the one that we're planning for existing?
Yes.
Yes. So what it basically would mean is that we would have offerings at all of our schools for all of our students, but only for students who are behind, students who have not passed grades, have not been promoted.
So that's the added 100,000 would.
That's the slim down 500.
Oh, the slim down is summer school at every site for any student that's failing classes that needs the support.
Right.
Only for them.
Only for them. So you have to be invited and you have to be struggling. And the extra 100,000, what would that bring?
That would probably add enrichment programming and additional programming, but and would be a little more expansive than what we currently have in place.
Okay.
If I may add on, if in the current climate, we're talking about it in a very limited sense. There's a very, very straightforward case to be made for summer school that will cost $5 million. You could sort of extend the school year much more substantially and be spending money really well. So we're talking about in the school committee's policy on promotion and retention, students have to pass math and ELA to be promoted. That's just one of the criteria. If students land with a grade between 60 and 65, they didn't pass, but they didn't outright fail, they can go to summer school to make up the difference. So that's basically required to go to summer school in order to be promoted. That's the minimum. That's per school committee policy. But we ought to provide a great deal more programming than that, both in terms of enrichment programming and other subjects, and also in terms of other students who deserve to be engaged appropriately during the summer.
And then my other question, and I appreciate this information, in terms of the facility spending that we did, you say in your report, you list a bunch of different items that total over $12 million. And, I was part of those votes, so I understand a lot of it was based on the needs. We needed space for our children. But you do mention in this report that further research is required. So are you thinking it's more than 12 million that we spent on facilities since FY23?
There are costs that are not listed here that would take considerable research. So an example that the committee might be familiar with is the mold issues at the Pawtuckaville School. So we've had to do mold abatement. And sometimes the school department has called in cleaning services to do that could be argued to be part of the city's responsibility. We've had floods in schools where maybe carpeting has to be replaced or something of that sort. We need to research properly where the funding came from and which was paid for by the city, which was paid for by the school department, in order to assert it more properly. But yes, there are additional costs that we could include if we had time to research them.
Thank you, that's very helpful. I don't know if anybody else had questions about the overall budget, but those are the ones that jumped out at me.
Delay. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Early college, that $200,000, what is it? What is contained in that cut?
So we reduced early college costs in our budget, in large part because the state has now asserted that community college programming will be free for Massachusetts residents. But there are additional costs than just the course credit costs that we're going to continue to work with Middlesex Community College and give our students opportunities to take coursework there. There are additional costs than simply the cost of the course.
So does that mean the program is reduced now?
No. We're determined to have the early college program just as we've had in the past, and we continue to grow it. We intend to continue to grow it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments before you proceed? Ms. Martin?
Can I just ask, on the Mayor Rourke's motion regarding the listing of new positions and kind of changes that have happened over the last, I think it was 5 years, yeah. I'm curious as to why we can't generate that, to be honest with you.
We have, Ms. Martin.
No, but I mean, this idea that there are changes to job titles and people moving through, I mean, I don't understand that as I'm not clear on what kind of job title changes would be happening that, I mean, if we're creating new jobs, this committee has to vote on them. If there are new job descriptions, we're supposed to vote on them. So I'm not sure, and I don't remember doing any of that in any great extent over the last few years. So I'm just curious about kind of the premise of that.
Okay. So just for clarity, might I just clarify that we've given the committee tonight this additional information that includes, I believe, what you're looking for, Ms. Martin, and what Mayor Rourke had called for.
Is that what we received tonight
Yes,
on our desks?
yes. If you want to just focus on the table, there's some narrative around that to explain it as well. So it's more than one page, 2 pages. It's actually, it's several pages. There's additional detail added.
I'm just wondering why I don't have a copy of it.
Give her another copy now.
Oh, I see it. It's under all this stuff. I'm sorry. This is it,
Yes,
and we just got this tonight.
yes. If you want, I think Ms. Martin and school committee members, I think it's the information you're looking for. Ms. Martin, to answer your question about why did it take so long, and Mayor Rourke had a good question along the same lines. Some of us are new to the role and new to Lowell and don't know the past history of the different jobs and job titles and so on, and they have changed, and DESI budget codes have changed and so on and so forth. And we're attempting to be accurate. There was a worry that we'd come forward with something that was not quite accurate and be right. And in addition, this is a key point, we weren't looking for the information in the right place, in part because we don't have access to Munis features that City Hall folks do. So Mayor Rourke, I know, was able to generate a report that he cited for us last week that I'm sure is very accurate. And we were wondering how he did that so quickly. But folks at City Hall have access to other features in Munis that we don't have access to on the school department side. So in the meantime, we did a lot of digging, and we produced this report, which you do believe is accurate. You have a summary table, and if you want additional detail, you also have that in the subsequent pages.
Could you explain the table? I mean, I'm assuming if we're just getting this right now, that the public does not have access to this information.
Correct. It was, by the way, anything of that sort we're happy to make available, but our first obligation for tonight was providing the committee with responses to your questions. I could have given you this information verbally, but it seemed more, realistic to give it to you, but we're happy to. So one idea along that, just to be clear and thorough, that when we produce our final budget book that will be published and will be public, we will include any and all of these documents as appendices to that report. So I'll give you a primer on the table maybe, and I'll also have Dr. Pinto available if you want further questions. If you look at the table, you'll notice down the left-hand side, it goes by fiscal year. And so across the top, you're talking about, at first, FTE that are paid for local dollars, right? The state aid, Chapter 70, it's the school department budget. You also have this next column over, grant-funded positions, and then in particular, ESSER positions, and then the total, complete total, and the last column shows you the change. You notice, if you go down, if you don't mind, I'll choose the total FTE to point to. The total FTE increased significantly over fiscal years roughly 21 through 24. As many people have pointed out, we have added a significant number of positions. I'd love to add editorial and why, but for the moment we've added the positions. You'll notice that in the first couple of years on this table, there was no ESSER dollars given to staffing, and then there was a considerable amount of ESSER dollars given to staffing in fiscal years 22 through 24. Then we come to the current fiscal year that we're finishing. There were no staff under ESSER. There was also a reduction in grant-funded positions, and the total number of positions has been reduced by 93 and a little bit extra. Is that a sufficient explanation?
What would you say is the reason that we have added so many positions?
Lowell is chronically understaffed, Lowell Public Schools, greatly so. I know people don't understand that, but it's true. If I'm going to diverge for a moment to answer your question, if you don't mind, briefly. I told something at the City Council about visiting Wellesley Public Schools. I talked about a library comparison. 20 years ago, in addition to that story, I was encouraged to visit Wellesley Middle School to look at a program that we were trying to run at the Daily School in Lowell. So I went to visit Wellesley Middle School with several teachers, and we went to see this program in action. I don't recall the program, I don't recall anything about it, in part because we were gobsmacked at the amount of staff they had in Wellesley. This is 20 years ago. They had, I know Mr. Conway will be interested to know, they had at Wellesley Middle School, same size as Daly Middle School, an assistant principal for each grade level. Department chairs, curriculum coordinators in a middle school of 900 students. One of the details I distinctly recall, they had 7 clerks and 6 guidance counselors. And I felt really naive to not know why you would have that kind of staff. And so the principal quickly explained to me that, of course, there was a clerk for each assistant principal. There was a clerk in the main office. There was a confidential clerk to the principal. I think I'm up to about 5 now. I forget what one of the other ones was a budget clerk. In Lowell at the time, we had 1 clerk in each school. To this day, we have 1 clerk in each school. I don't know what the guidance counselors were up to, right? But I am not arguing for additional clerical services. I could. But coaching staff that AFT says are critical to the growth in schools, that's the National Teachers Union, AFT. Coaching staff, curriculum staff, assistant principals. We are grossly behind very many other districts in the state, and we're not attempting to keep up with Wellesley. That's not the point. The Student Opportunity Act is an acknowledgement of what I'm saying to you with a story, and it's a meager attempt to get us caught up to some extent. And so some of the additional positions, yes, they were added during ESSER, and yes, they've been reduced by 93, you've noticed, for this year. And we're reducing further positions going into next school year. Before the reduction of city cash, we already were reducing other positions. It is not widely understood what it takes to educate students with the kinds of needs as the students we have in Lowell, and to do that with grossly fewer and less qualified staff than are in other competing districts. And so that's why it's a long-winded, but that's why some staffing has increased in Lowell. Nowhere near what we require. Nowhere near what we require to run summer school properly, besides a cobbled-together effort for $1 million. Nowhere near enough to increase preschool that every smart community is adding. We're not even talking about that because that's silly talk. We don't have anywhere near enough funds to do things like that. But to answer your question, I won't go on. I'll answer if any more questions. But we have, yes, increased staffing, largely because of what's called the Student Opportunity Act, that is increased funding for exactly the reasons and the intentions that we've applied it to.
Mr. Conway?
Yeah, just very briefly. I mean, I think I understand the frustration there when we're talking about the additional administrators. And as we've talked about before numerous times, that education takes place in the classroom. That's where the focus. And I've said this before. I said, whether it's you or the school committee or the custodian or the cafeteria worker, we all have a goal, and that is to support what goes on in the classroom.
Correct.
So I think that you know, somebody sent me something a couple weeks ago, and I took a look at it, and it's a national graph. And it said that it was from 2000 to 2022. Student increase was 2% in that period of time. Teacher increase was 5%. Principals and assistant principals, the increase was 50%, and district administrators and staff, and I think that's what we're talking about here too, district administrators and staff went up 132%. So you can see how there is obviously a concern that, you know, people wanting those resources in the classroom with paras and tutors. We all know that in order to increase our test scores, we have to make sure that we focus on the classroom. And I think that's what we're trying to do here right now. And it's frustrating. I understand it. It's very, very frustrating.
Mr. Conley, I do believe that you have the right emphasis, and I want to, you know, to join you in saying that yes, of course, the emphasis has to do with the classroom. If we build up central office or build up administrative positions and the classrooms are struggling, that would be foolish. No intention of doing that. I'm cautious, however, when you refer to a national model. I'm interested in what's the model in Lowell. This time last year, when we had a fiscal cliff, look at what we did with our budget. We cut from central office primarily. This time this year, prior to the city reduction in cash, we were offering the school committee a budget that had millions of dollars cut from central office. So in addition to that, I'd like to know what other resources should we put in classrooms that we don't have right now? Because we are staffing classrooms and we're supporting classrooms with curriculum and all the supplies that they need over and above anything else that we do in the district. That's what we do.
Well, don't you have right here 17 paraprofessionals and 11 tutors? They have lost their job. Is that correct?
This is what we're facing right now, yes.
They've lost their job. These two particular positions affect directly in the classroom.
They do, Mr. Conway. They do. I think you need to also appreciate that, first and foremost, the cuts were made at central office. When city cash was reduced and we had to make even deeper cuts, we consulted principals who consulted their school site councils, and this is what they came up with. And until now, in Lowell, we have honored the choices made at schools. And so the principals and their school site councils have said these are the contributions they can make to help us balance our budget. I, for one, don't want to disagree with them.
Just one more point. We put something in the suspense account, and it had to do with the early childhood program. Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct, Ms. Conway.
Now, what I questioned was and I believe, I don't have it handy here. Let's see. Was that $175,000 that we paid? Is that what it was?
No, Mr.
I'm sorry.
It's considerably less than that.
It was considerably. Just trying to figure what page that was on. That we were paying for. Oh, all right. I think that was, I'm looking for the early childhood.
Mr. Conley,
coordinator. What page was that on? Do you
Well,
know?
right now, we've changed.
What page was that on?
It's in the suspense account.
Right.
Right.
What page was that on? Or what number was it?
The early childhood coordinator,
Yeah.
number 142.
Yeah, Mr. Conway, it's number 66, it's on page 15.
Okay, thank you. All right. Number 66. Okay, it was 100 and $38,000. And what I questioned was, why wouldn't the grant pay for that?
So we researched a response to your question, Mr. Conway. We provided the response. It's number 5 on the page you have. The question asked was it not a grant-funded position? We researched and found that it was in the past a grant-funded position from 2016 to 2020, and that it was transitioned to district funding in 2021.
Are you aware that that grant has been around, I think, since 1990? Are you aware of that?
Are you talking about the GLEAM grant, Mr. Conley?
I'm talking about the early childhood grant.
There are numerous of them, and we apply for and receive numerous.
Let me just say, let me go back for a second. We, back in the year, I believe 1990, Ted Rorak, George Sapasaris, Pam Simpkin, they met and they said, it's time that we have an early childhood program, and they discussed it back then. Are you aware of that?
They were visionary, Mr. Conway. I applaud their efforts.
That's right. And what they did was they invited somebody else there to that trio to write the grant. And that individual was my wife, Mary Cassidy Conway. She was the school department's first physical therapist. They brought her to the table and asked her to write the grant. She did. Then they asked her to oversee that grant, which she did. Where did she get paid? From where? From the grant. And what I'm saying is, and I've checked with my sources, I talked to Mr. Rorak, and he said for years and years and years, that was paid, obviously, through the grant. So why isn't it paid through the grant now, in that we're spending $138,000 from the budget?
Understood.
It doesn't make any sense.
Based on your question last meeting, Mr. Conway, we have verified much of what you're saying. So we verified at least that up until 2020, it was paid from the grant. But that, when we go to prepare our budget this year, we don't have that information in front of us. We start with the fiscal 25 budget to build the fiscal 26 budget. So
You don't have what information in front of you?
we don't have information from 2020. Right? So somebody in 2020 who was superintendent at the time, who were on the committee at the time, made a choice.
You've been in the school system for 30 years.
I don't understand the point, Mr.
Well,
Conley.
you be in the school system, obviously you know that there's an early childhood director for the school system.
Mr. Conway, numerous things have happened. There are numerous positions in the district that have switched from local to grants and back. I think I mentioned to you, I believe during the years that you're talking about, 16 to 20, the early childhood coordinator was asked, in addition, to be a principal of the Cardinal College School, doubling up her roles. It was a way that the district had in difficult financial times to pay for a school principal out of an early childhood grant. That's why it was paid for a grant at that time.
So why can't we take that particular job and have the grant pay for it and not the district?
We could explore that, but undoubtedly we would have to cut some other services from the grant. But we can explore that if that's the committee's wish.
How many administrators are on that grant now?
I don't have that information.
You don't have that information?
No, I do know it's very poorly staffed.
I'm sorry?
I know it's very poorly staffed. There are very few people administering early childhood programming. There could be a very much built-out program if we were serving students the way we ought to.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Rossi,
Now.
Mr. Lay. Mr. Rossi, go ahead.
So last week, at the budget hearing meeting, we agreed on page 15, the curriculum directors, right, on that budget line?
Yes.
And now this week, we have amount requested more for a coordinator of ELL programs, psychologist, coordinator of literacy, coordinator of science, coordinator of math, day-to-day substitutes. So how could we agree on that, yet this week there's an addendum?
Sure. I don't know what you're referring to, Ms. De Rossi.
8.3 for the revised, full revised agenda that we received on our desk tonight.
Yes, this is for this fiscal. Yeah, the transfers that are happening, is that what she's asking about the transfer?
I don't have the document you're referring to.
The transfer's happening for this fiscal year is what she's referring to. Yeah, I heard it's 8.3. This, see the attachment, this thing here. Yeah. So this is for this, yeah, so this is for this transfers for this fiscal year.
Oh, I
It's
see.
cleanup for
Right.
us. So it's us
So,
addressing the negative.
yeah, Mr. Rossi, that document you're referring to is not part of the budget hearing. It has to do with current programming and spending our dollars by the end of the year.
So for fiscal year '25, not
That's right.
fiscal year '26.
That's right. It's a request for the committee to allow us to transfer funds between different accounts in order to spend out our dollars. It has to do with fiscal '25. It's not about adding or reducing positions.
Okay, thank you. And also, I just wanted to kind of put a motion on the floor to ask Miss Wendy Crocker-Roberge to kind of put together from all the databases that we have to assess students who's under grade level instead of who's passing classes, because those are two very different things. And from what I see, most students are very below grade level and may pass classes because kids just don't stay back today. And I think that's very important to add to the quarterly report.
So we give it to you, Mr. Rossi. It's in the quarterly report. I
Who's
believe-
below grade level?
Yes, and I believe you asked for this a year or more ago, and it's been in the report ever since. We used the iReady assessment to give you that information in the
Okay,
KPI report.
I'll look at that. I do have that with me. But when I first reviewed it, I definitely didn't see it. But I'll go through it again. So thank
You're welcome.
Mr. Lay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Mr. Conway in many times that each time I look at this sheet, I keep on drawn into 17 paraprofessionals that we're gonna cut, 13 tutors, social workers, SPED, parents liaison, so on and so on. I feel that those positions will have a negative effect on thousands of students if we cut those positions. By the way, Mr. Superintendent, you did a great job advocating for more funding at the City Council about 2 weeks ago. I thought you did a great job, and I haven't seen the superintendent come to the City Council and spoke like that, so I really appreciate that, and I think parents do appreciate what you did also. So what I don't understand is, as we go on doing this, have you, Superintendent, have you talked to anybody from the city? Are we going to get any more money? As we go along, approving line by line, I keep on drawing to these positions potentially being cut. Another one is webmaster. I thought that we ought to keep. I just feel that if we continue go through the process, knowing that these positions being cut and we're not paying attention to them, we just put them aside for now. I just have a feeling that we're not going to bring them back, and it is a great loss. Last night we saw a bunch of students receiving scholarship, going to colleges, and they're all happy. But at the same time, there was only like 200-something students out of thousands, tens of thousands of students. And I feel that we're leaving behind many students who need our help. And Student Opportunity Act gave us money increased money for our district for a reason, because we need those money to teach our kids. And instead of spending those money for the students, we are cutting them. So that explains why our students are not doing well. So I don't know what to do. I just want to see if any way we can guarantee that we're going to get at least $4 more million. Otherwise, going through this budget, it doesn't really make me feel that we are doing anything good at all. We just rubber stamp what you have, and that's not what I want to do.
Thank you, Mr. Lay. I appreciate your concern, and it's shared. I think if, in my own view, right this minute, I think our most productive line would be go back to where Mayor Rourke was directing us initially onto where we left off on the budget book, simply because we don't know if funding will increase or decrease. We only know what we have to work with at the moment. And then every year when the budget book is presented, it's presented based on the budget that we know about at that moment. And sometimes in the summertime, an additional grant comes in, or the Senate votes for additional funding, or maybe votes to take it away. We know right now the landscape, the budget landscape, and that's what we have in our budget book. I think it would help us in the school department and all of us if we processed through the book. Committee members have lots of questions that we've been taking and responding to. I think we should do that for the remainder of the book so we at least know that much. If additional funds come in, we'll try to process them with you. But this is what we have for now.
And last Wednesday, Mr. Lay, we did make a number of cuts that we requested the superintendent use those cuts towards the classroom. Mr. Conway?
Yeah, just a quick question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the superintendent. Did you get a chance to sit down with the city manager?
Not yet,
discuss
Mr.
this?
Conway.
I'm sorry?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
We've had no communication at all over the past week with the city manager?
Yes, the city manager and I have been had some communications. Neither one of us had the managed to arrange a meeting ahead of Friday, which was the deadline for uploading the agenda for this meeting.
I mean, my concern too is that we're going through this budget, possibly making cuts and so forth, and shouldn't we wait until you sit down with the city manager? Would that make sense?
Yeah, you, Mr. Conway, have been involved in budget making and budget approvals a much greater history of that than I do. So I welcome that whatever the will of this committee is, will follow. My recommendation for right this minute is that we finish through our budget book, and so we know, like Mr. Conway's question, whether it should be grant funded or locally funded, and why this increases and so on. All of these kinds of questions I think we should process for tonight, and not concern ourselves with what we don't know.
Mr. Conway?
I'm all set.
Mr. Bahu?
Mr. Mayor, we started this budget process last week. We have some items, some jobs on hold that we're sort of considering. We have some items on abeyance and costs that we've been looking at that we're not really sure if we want to spend all those funds. So it just seems to me that we should just progress with this budget conversation, try to get to the end of the budget, and then hopefully have the superintendent speak with the city manager and have a nice discussion between themselves so that we can see exactly the direction that we're going and come back next week and finalize the budget. the budget.
Yeah, and we did the same thing last year as well, where there were jobs that we had to put into different categories, and that when the budget did come through, some of those jobs were restored. So it happens almost every year when the budget goes past June 30th.
Sure, so let's just progress.
Correct, right.
And then move forward and see what happens at the end of tonight, and then maybe finalize it next week.
Sounds good, all right. So back to page 20, 2352, professional development. The motion's already been made and seconded, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Are there any questions concerning this professional development, $4,074,805?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I think if you wish, last time, I think we established a cadence where I'd give a run through the page, if you want to do that. I'll give some highlights. On line 173, it's a reduction of 2 PD coaches. So those are 2 staff members at Lowell High School. There's actually elsewhere, there's an increase of 2 literacy coaches, and so it basically ends up being the high school trading positions. They want literacy coaches right now, so they reduce these 2, and they're going to add 2 literacy coaches. We have in line 176, the difference there is the same number of staff. One has been moved from a grant into a local, and that is simply because the grant could not support the 12 positions for the coming year. In line 177, similarly, for the same reason, there are 2 positions been moved from a grant into local.
Back to 176, Mr. Superintendent?
Yes,
So you had the 1.2 billion, right?
yes,
All totally grant funded?
that's right.
Okay, then you have, the grant for this year is 1.258.
For 11 positions, that's right.
Right. So it costs more money to get one less person?
Understood. That's a good question. Dr. Pinto?
Thank you for the question. So this one may be attributable to wage adjustments, wage and step and column adjustments.
So if we divide 11 into 1.2 million, I'm sure you only, so each of those jobs is $115,000?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Rossi.
Yes. Honestly, these positions are increasing in our district from 16 positions to 17 positions. So we're now adding a position and taking away support in the classroom and putting a literacy specialist to go to consult, right? So can we think about eliminating that extra literacy specialist?
Yeah. So I want to remind the committee, it's a good question, Mr. Rossi. Many of the positions, including the ones we're talking about right now, were decided at the school level, right? So the schools get their allocation, they work with their school site council on their budget, and the schools, various schools said, well, we're going to hire literacy specialists and we're going to hire, whatever the positions are in that school. So what we're looking at here, we refer to it as central office as the budget books from the schools rolled up. So when we add them up from all the schools in Lowell that need a literacy specialist, that's what they add up to. The schools have made that decision.
But we could hire 4 paras.
According to the committee and the system that you have us use, we give the choice to the schools. We didn't make that choice at central office.
I mean, I honestly make a motion to cut that position because we need more boots on the ground with our kids and support in the classroom. We can't afford to cut supports in the classrooms.
So a motion made by Mr. Rossi. Is there a second?
Kind of library literacy specialist?
Is there a second? I'm sorry.
Second.
Yeah, second, Mr. Conway. I do have a question, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes.
before So the principal from that school put forward that they wanted that position in their school.
That's correct. The principal and the school site council.
Okay.
So if you don't,
So we
if you cut one, then what school doesn't get the literacy
we
specialist?
were telling the principal they can't have that position.
See, I understand, I do just want the committee to understand what we're doing here, right? If the vote were to go through, we're changing the whole system. Like, see, in other words, do you want the principal and the school site council to get their budget and to work through it and decide what their school needs, right? Because that's the system we have at the moment. It's already been decided at the school level. I didn't influence it, Dr. Pinto didn't, and so on. The school committee in Lowell has said that that's what we call fair school funding model that we use. We're making a decision, the school committee would be making a decision that they know better than the principal and the school site council who put the school budget together.
Can I request the evidence for that and also to put it in abeyance or suspense, or whatever account it goes into?
So yes, Ms. De Rossi, I'm going to go with and do what the committee, the will of the committee is. I'm just advising you on what I believe is happening. There's a second.
Mr. Conway seconded. So you want your motion to read, to put a literacy specialist in the suspense account and to receive backup on the
note
reasoning
or
behind
the
wanting it?
meeting summary of the school site council
Okay.
meeting stating that, and to put it in whatever account floats your boat, abeyance or
I'll
suspense.
put it in suspense.
No, from the one that made the change.
It's one
Right.
Because they're adding one. Right. Got it.
Mr. Mayor?
It's the same number, correct? The last year, this year, it's the same number, but the funding for one of the positions is coming from the school side, not from a grant. So
I think there's one additional, Mr. Mayor, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. De Rossi, which line are you talking about? One,
177.
right, so 177 is one more, right.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Before we take a vote on this?
Before we take a vote, I just want to say that I'm not sure what it is, but Mr. Rossi, leap of faith, I'm going to support you because I want to see what's going to happen because we're not eliminating, so I will support you for that.
Thank you.
All right, you want to read it back, please, Madam Clerk?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, it's to put a literacy specialist in the suspense account and to receive evidence in a summary form from the school site council?
Roll call.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Del Rossi? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay? Ms. Martin? Ms. Mayor Rourke?
No.
6 yeas, 1 nay.
So on page 20, any other comments? Any line, Superintendent, any other things you want to go over first? 190, 191? 192?
Yes, so if the committee cares to look at lines, the end of the page, line 188 through 192. So the,
No, how much is the literacy specialist, that amount going to?
So you added two positions by
oh,
grant.
right, so you're talking about, yeah, two grant-funded positions on line 188 and 189. Those are positions that needed to be filled to execute a grant. So the CFCE refers to, I can't think what the acronym is, but it's a grant. Thank you, Ms. Martin. And when you receive that grant, you have to supply the positions to go with it. So those are the two. There are actually 5 additions: one position as a coordinator, and then 4 parent liaisons. So they're grant-funded positions required by the grant. Line 191 and 192 both refer to funds set aside as a strategic investment as an attempt to increase our preschool programming.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much. So what does ECH stand for, do you know?
Early childhood.
What's the H?
CH for childhood.
Okay.
I was confused.
No, I was just curious as a funding source. I would say, so for CSCE, which I am, again, I'm at least aware of, where were these positions before? Because, this is a grant that the school department has had for, as we've discussed, decades.
Right. It looks from the budget book that we're looking at that they're new positions because they weren't listed for last school year.
Right. That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
So,
Dr. Pinto, do you know? Dr. Pinto is examining that.
Sure.
One possibility that makes sense. When we approved our budget book last year, these positions obviously weren't in there. We received the grant in August, let's say, and then went forward with filling the positions that were required by the grant. So in other words, the positions occurred after the budget book was approved. When we look at it this year, there was nothing this time last year, but the positions were created in August. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's what occurred. And Dr. Pinto is offering to research it further.
okay. Again, as we've said, it's a grant that we've had for many, many, many years. So but if you could research and find out what the story is behind that, I can wait and get that information.
Certainly.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Mr. Conway?
Yeah, thank you. Through you to the superintendent. On 191, where you mentioned the contracted services for 270, can you elaborate, what do we actually mean by contracted services here?
I think
Is this a
primarily,
company that comes in,
but no, it would be primarily renting space.
renting?
Renting
Oh,
space.
okay.
Yeah.
Any others? Ms. Bahu?
And just to elaborate on that, renting space so that we can expand our early childhood pre-K, is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
Right, which has been sort of the direction we've been trying to go for a bit.
That's correct.
Okay.
Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
Page 21,
Mr. Mayor,
yes,
before we go to the next page,
sure.
may I talk about something else that I've heard over the weekend? And the closest thing that I looked over is on page 17, and that has to do with show choir at the high school. And the closest thing that I could see
So
is,
we've already done that section of the budget, we've already approved it.
right, but maybe I just want to see if superintendent knew about it, because it seemed to be different from what I heard. It's different from what we voted on. So what we voted on that page, especially on line 128, I think that music teachers, according to what we voted on, 27.4 position, we voted to approve 27 positions, so we lost 0.4 position, part-time. However, I've heard that at the high school, a full-time teacher being told that that position is eliminated, that is a full-time position. So I just want to hear from you if you knew about it, and if you have any explanation.
So again, I'm always welcome the committee to change the system if you choose to, but the system we have is that those decisions are made at the school. So the head of school would have worked that decision through with his school site council. It wouldn't have involved the superintendent, but they're entitled to make those decisions. I'm not sure what other factors, I trust, have no doubt that they made a reasoned decision, whether we think it's a good one or a nice one or not. They had reasons for the decision they made, but I'm not privy to that this moment.
Okay. Well, just because looking at that, it seems like the position we are eliminating is not a full-time. It's only a part-time position. And
Right.
I'm not, Mr. Superintendent, I'm not, never ever that I have any desire to tell
Right.
the teacher or you or anybody what to do. But however, I just want to hear what the explanation is, what happened, why that position being cut, a full-time
Understood.
position, and are we replacing him with
Understood.
somebody else? Or is that why we're doing that? Or?
Right. So one of the things to clarify, that if you notice, that line is referring to, I don't have it in front of me now, but I believe it's 27, or sorry, is it? Yes, 27 positions overall. So like, that's not the high school only, that's all across the district, all the principals that chose to have a music teacher in their school, I think that's all of them, you know. Somebody somewhere chose, they might have had a part-time teacher that they're no longer having, they might have replaced it with a full-time, or they might have eliminated. But when you roll it all up, for the whole district of Lowell, there's 27 music teachers. It's not just the high school. Although I think your concern has to do with the high school, we'll try to find out the information you're looking for.
So you think that the decision was made by the principal at the high school?
On the face of it, it would seem so.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rossi?
So it's show choir at the high school, which has, I believe, always been a part-time position for maybe a teacher to
I
take.
see.
And I know for a fact my son's grandmother who passed away was a huge part of that for a very long time, and how passionate she felt about it and how much it helped kids. And I think that needs to be acknowledged, because look at the show Glee. Look what that did for kids.
It's wonderful. Agreed.
Okay. Back to section page 21, that's okay. I need a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the bottom line figure of $6,574,723 by Mr. Rossi, second by Mr. Conway. Any discussion? Mr. Superintendent, anything you want to talk about on this page?
Sure. It may help, Mr. Mayor, both of us certainly might help me. I think as we go through the pages, they become a little bit easier, I hope.
Me too.
At any rate, for line 196, there's a significant increase there, and that's associated with our purchase of new curriculum. I think the committee is aware of new literacy curriculum. You might also want to note that in line 198, you know, there have been numerous actions taken by our new Assistant Superintendent for Finance, Dr. Pinto, to clean up our budget book. There's no need today for a separate line for supplies for reading. And so that 198 amount is captured under supplies and textbooks for K-12. It's cleaning up the budget book. But my point is that that's why line 198 has no dollars assigned to it. Other than that,
Similar to 200 and 201 as well? Is that the same situation?
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. In, line 204 is also, it's blanked on for the coming school year, and that's because the computer contract services are basically the same thing as software. And so that's been collapsed into line 206. And otherwise, I think that explains what's going on this page. On line 205, that amount is an amount for student laptops, and the rest of the technology amount is for repairs. I'll take any questions.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much. Looking at that 198, line 198, I know we're talking, and we've had conversations both in the curriculum subcommittee and then here on the floor about the new purchase of those supplies. Do we have any capacity to even take a portion of that out of our current year?
We do.
Will we have the opportunity to do that?
We're doing that as we've already ordered much of the supplies and.
I'm
they're-
sorry, and I misspoke. It was 196, the big number, not the.
Right,
not the
right, thank you.
Nice little $10,000 number, the $500,000 number.
So the answer is yes, Ms. Martin, and we're already doing that.
So that 500,000 from current fiscal year is going towards that purchase, and then we're looking at an additional 2 million in the, is that all for the same, to purchase the whole system? Or is that a separate investment?
So we're paying for half of the curriculum, as we discussed in the subcommittee this year, this fiscal year, and then the modules 3 and 4 in the subsequent year. But the other 2 million is for curriculum overall. So it's not just ELA and literacy, it's math, it's science, it's
Okay.
all of our expenditures for content.
Okay, perfect. So the bulk of that investment is being made for this current year?
Yes.
Okay.
You'll
Thank you
also
very much.
notice, if I may point out, that the significant portion of the cost has been assigned to grants. We're able to find grants for some of it, and so
Great.
437,000 is been sought through grants.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bahu?
So, based on the new curriculum purchase that we're making, how much is it costing us exactly?
Dr. Foxroy?
Mr. Bahu, probably 2 million, upwards of 2 million.
And we're looking to pay for half this year, half next year.
And we are writing, we just finished the grant to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education with the hopes of getting 800,000 in return for the 2 million. So we will hope to pay for half of the curriculum with our grant.
Okay, and with this curriculum that we're purchasing, will we be ramped up and ready to implement it come September 1?
That is our plan. We have professional development scheduled. We have quotes already out. The vendors have started collecting the materials and ready to ship to us, and we are hoping everything is here before the end of the school year.
So are we hoping the professional development starts?
So we're
in
having
June?
professional development in June, and we're having some additional professional development in August, and then subsequent PD for the November, December, during the academic year as well.
So the high-quality instruction materials will be implemented and working next school year.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Page 22, 27, 28, XX, guidance counselors. The motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent is to approve the bottom line figure of $13,150,016 by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Conway. Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think for the most part on this page, substantial changes are on lines 217 through 221. Much of the changes there has to do with the cleanup of our 240 grant. So we have a new finance team. We also have a new special ed director. Some of that work is involved in cleaning up the 240 grant. There's a position on line 218, a social worker position that was previously funded by a grant that could no longer be funded by the grant, and so it needs to be in local if we continue that position. Also, for line 220, the line 220 is another one of the ones where in the previous budget book, different codes and different categories were used. Dr. Pinto and the staff have cleaned up our budgets so that we're using the appropriate codes and that positions are signed into the correct positions. So if you look at line 220, there is not an addition of 4 staff, though it looks like it's going from 4 to 8. If you care to see where it came from, on page 17, there's a line 126, where there's a reduction in staff. So it's really just a realigning of our budget book. And most of the positions that we're referring to on line 220 are SEL teachers, so social emotional learning teachers. I'll take any questions.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes, so we're essentially losing in this section. We're going from 13 to 15 psychologists. We're adding 4 PBR teachers, but we're losing 25 positive behavior reinforcement teachers within the classroom.
So we're
Is
not.
that correct?
No. So on line 220, Mr. Rossi, we're not losing any teachers.
But if we go back to that page 17, as you said, right? Where teacher and other PBR teachers, interventionists, we go from 31 to 6. We're losing 2
That's
million.
correct. They've been reallocated, and so some of them are the 4 that you're seeing added here.
In the 4?
On
You're
page, yes,
taking-
on the line that we're looking at on page 22, line 220, it goes from 4 staff in this current year to 8.
Yeah, but they're going to be in psychological services, which are people that are really basically consultants.
No, they're teachers.
And-
They're actually SEL teachers. Mr. Rossi.
SEL, right? That don't work with kids in the classroom, that don't work in the school buildings.
They do,
They're-
Mr. Rossi.
They're going to be split as behavioral specialists.
No, Mr. Rossi, the SEL teachers work in the classroom with the students.
So, okay, so we're going from 31 to 6, right? That's minus 25, and then we're adding 8. So basically, we have 14 compared to 31 plus 4, 35 that we had last year, essentially, right?
No, I know it's confusing, Mr. Rossi. So were you talking about going from 31 to 6? There were 31 teachers just lumped into one category. When Dr. Pinto and his staff worked on the budget book this year, they split that 31 into the correct categories throughout the budget book. And 4 of them ended up on the line that we're referring to right now. 4 of them are SEL teachers who are now in line 220.
Okay, so we're still missing, a significant amount.
If we
still.
went, we'd have to go through the budget book and show you where the rest of them ended up. Some of them may look like increases in other lines, but they've all ended up somewhere in the budget book.
And we're able to stay at their school.
Yes, absolutely. Unless they were on that reductions page, the summary, then yes, they all remain at their schools.
Which is really not easy to decipher because it doesn't list schools of where they came from.
Yeah, I hope and pray that this time next year we'll see the benefits of the reorganization of the budget book. It's, you can't reorganize the budget book what we believe is appropriately and have it look the same way it did last year. I know that's confusing. I find it confusing also, but we believe it's to our benefit.
Story?
I'm just wondering if you could provide us with the breakdown of that.
Certainly.
31 now becomes this number of PBR, this number of
Certainly.
whatever, and so then we can see it.
Certainly.
Any other questions on page 22? Mr. Bahu?
And it looks like we're adding 2 psychologists. Is there a reason
Yes,
for
Ms.
that?
Yeah. We're chronically understaffed with psychologists, chronically difficulties meeting deadlines. Occasionally, if a psychologist might be out on leave for one reason or another, that's typical in all positions, that somebody, we have very great difficulty. We believe we need the staff to meet the compliance needs that we're required to provide testing and reports within a certain number of days for special ed cases.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Del Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay? Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Moving on to pages 23 and 24, attendance and parent liaison services. The motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and to approve the bottom line figure of $4,067,568 by Mr. Bahu, seconded by Mr. Rossi. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 23, I might point out line 228, where there was a McKinney-Vento outreach specialist as grant-funded position. The grant no longer supports that position, so we've given it to you in the local budget for next year. I believe if you want to look at line 231, attendance monitors, there's the same number of staff, but there's a significant increase, and that's due to an increase that the school committee urged us to provide during the school year, this past school year. Community schools managers is another line you might be interested in, line 238. There's an increase from 4 to 5. We're quite interested and pleased about it. So this would be another school-based decision, but in other words, more schools are choosing to have that position for next year than was the case this year, which is we believe is a good news. Also, that some of those positions continue to be supported by a grant. Some of them are local. If you, oh, there is one other line I think I should highlight here. On line 245, we have a mistake. On line 245, there are student support folks, 2 of them, and it looks as though it's been reduced by 1 to just 1 for next year. That is a mistake. So we'd like to correct that mistake and restore the second one. It wasn't intended to be cut. There's a reason the mistake occurred. There were shifts of people during the year, and it was confusing. But there are 2 people in student support services who do the work of resolving family issues with people that request transfers or people that have bullying issues in schools and so on. And 2 of them is actually quite minimal. In the past, it's been as many as 4 in the traditional student support services. So we certainly don't want to reduce it to 1. It should be 2. So we have to change. If the committee agrees to that, we can change it and add it in the line, and so that when you vote, you'll be voting for the 2. Correct. That's what I mean. We'll adjust it so that you'll vote on the correct amount if you agree.
So the 121 times 2,
That's correct.
Mr. Rossi?
Thank you. What screams at me for reading this, we're losing 1 part-time parent liaison, 6 stipend parent liaisons, 2 SLIFE specialists, which, just saying, for this city is not the greatest time to lose specialists in children who come from traumatized backgrounds. We're losing 2 bilingual family liaisons, 1 SPED parent liaison, and 1 adult education teacher. That's what screams out to me here.
Mr. Rossi.
Mr. Superintendent, I see us adding 1, correct? Bilingual family liaison?
So as we went through, if you want to point to it, Mr. Mayor, but as Mr. Rossi went through, I wasn't counting up each of the lines she was pointing to. But may I make a point, please? This is what we refer to when we say we reduce central office staff. These are some of these. There are some of the bilingual liaisons that are also at schools, but some of the staff that you're referring to, Mr. Rossi, are central office staff. And so sometimes a committee member actually finds those folks valuable too. They do very valuable, essential work.
Absolutely, and especially being a gateway city and servicing students that were at the ICC, and they have a lot of trauma. And that's a lot of cuts to take away from supports in the school system.
Agreed.
So on 233, if I could just, maybe I read it wrong. I saw 8 last year at 420,000. This year I see 6 that the school department was paying for at 347, but then 3 positions from a grant from 173. Is that correct, Mr. Pinto, Doctor?
Yeah, that's correct. We were able to, the 8 positions you referred to in the current fiscal year are school-based staff. One school, somewhere in our district, has chosen to hire one, so that makes the 9th, one school that didn't pick it last year. And then as well as that, we were able to find Title I funds to cover some of them. So 3 of them are on the Title I grant.
See, Mr. Rossi, there's one with, they do with the school department funds, and then the grant is the next one over.
Thank you, but I'd like to put the rest in suspense, because I believe that we truly need that for our district. An abeyance, abeyance.
Thank you. Can we I want to be clear that we get your intent. Can you take us line by line and say what you want, please?
We're adding a family liaison, not taking away, we're adding.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a school has chosen to add one.
Is there, wait, am I not looking at an updated one?
Page 23.
We are losing 6, line 237. We are losing 6 parent liaisons.
So, yes, so, yeah, the 237, those are stipended positions, and if you notice, the 6 positions for a total cost of $20,000. In other words, it's just a stipend given to folks who do some work of that sort. It turns out in the schools, it's been very difficult to find people to do that work. So basically 6 of them for $20,000, they're earning a stipend of approximately $3,000 each, and they're not filled oftentimes. So principals have chosen to not use that funding in that way.
Okay, what about the SLIFE? It's going from 2 to 0. And like I said, we're a gateway city. We're getting a lot of kids in here from traumatized backgrounds, and we're losing, oh, we're not losing a district support specialist. Okay.
Let's, again, Mr. Rossi.
Line 244.
244, it shows a reduction of 2 MLE support staff. We would be happy to restore that.
Okay, can we do that?
Yes.
Okay.
It happens, not being cavalier, but it happens with the line 244 that Mr. Rossi is pointing out. Since the budget book was presented, other folks have given us similar feedback to Mr. Rossi, and we had come to regret those positions being cut. We even came up with a plan to restore them, and we're going to share with the committee tonight how we would fund it, what else would be cut. So as we add positions back, if we do, we have to share with you what we're going to cut to make that work. But we do think that that line is worth restoring.
Motion by Mr. Rossi, second by Mr. Conway. Any comments or questions on this motion? Roll call, Madam Clerk. Just, oh, no, sorry, hold on, time out. Just on this motion alone. Okay, good.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yes.
Mr. Rush, you all set?
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lay, then Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looking at line 254, I'm just pointing out the number that seem to be not in sync in a way.
Yes.
4 position 240 and then 3 positions only 66.
Right. It seems as though those were new positions last year, and it seems as though it was interpreted to be full-time positions. They're in fact not full-time positions, they're part-time positions, and so it's been corrected for this year.
Mr. Conway?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the superintendent. Could you explain the difference between line 228, the student outreach liaison, McKinney-Vento, and 242, district support, McKinney-Vento? What's the difference between these two? That's 228 and 242.
So essentially, one person is more senior than the other, so they're...
Sorry?
Essentially, one person is more senior than the other. There are different staff in the district who work with homeless students. As McKinney-Vento signals, it's a homelessness funding. And
Did we not have that last year, 242?
242.
That's a
Yeah,
new
we
position?
have it last, so my understanding about that position, that this I understand is confusing. It was paid for last year on a grant. But if I'm not mistaken, the grant funds arrived during the summer, I think in September, after this budget book was passed. So the position was not in the budget, but the grant funded it after the book was published. And that's in response to line 242.
So that's a definite?
Yes.
That's a definite, okay. And 228?
So 228 is another staff member who, I don't have a job description in front of me. I can refer to other people if you'd like it. Like, in other words, what is it that the student outreach person does different from the district support person? Is that the question?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, okay. Ms. LeGrand, please.
The position actually falls under equity at the moment, but the difference in position is the district support has to engage in a number of meetings that occur with DCF and other agencies and other school districts when we're determining what's in the best interest of a student to make the fiscal decision as to where a student's going to attend. So the position is a little higher, who's going to pay for transportation, there's a little kind of more level of responsibility, where the liaison, and Dr. Phillips could certainly talk more eloquently about it, really is more coordinating with families around supports and making sure they have access to schools and setting up kind of in-district supports for after-school care, things like that.
So we had those positions last year?
Yes, I don't
but
know
they
beyond
were-
last year, but this year we have.
They were grant positions, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then what happened between last year and this year? Did the grant go away or what?
It's reduced. The McKinney-Vento grant will not sustain the positions for next year as they did last year.
My apologies, I didn't see Dr. Phillips was here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was confusing, Mr. Superintendent, is that there's no dollar figure under the grant section of
Yeah,
42 for last year.
we can come up with a way to code that better next year. So there's no dollar figure because in the budget book, what you see for 2025 for the current year is what we presented to the committee in May last year. In May last year, there was no dollar figure there right? Because it didn't exist. When the grant funding came in, the position was added. There's a 1 there. The 1 was actually added during our working of the budget book as a signal to come back and clarify that line, and the 1 remained. I think it would have been perhaps simpler if we left that out, or perhaps the committee would prefer that we add in the amount that was spent in fiscal '25.
Well, that's happened throughout the budget, where we saw the grant money from last year.
Yeah, I preferred that myself, Mr. Mayor. I understand the way the budget book has been built in Lowell. You present the school committee with the same figures as, that were voted on last year.
Explanation, that works out. Any other comments, Mr. Bahu? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Martin and Mr. Bahu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think to that point, Mr. Superintendent, I do think that generally what we should be looking at for FY25 should be the most updated numbers.
Okay.
So looking at something, I mean, we all know what's happened in a year. So, I mean, I think, best practice, whatever we want to call it, what we're looking at for FY25 should be accurate.
Agreed.
I'd also say, I mean, there are a lot of, we've talked about it in a couple different circumstances, kind of long-term grants that we, nothing's 100%, but that you can generally anticipate, and you can make a reasonable expectation that those grants, even if you don't hear until August, I think not including those positions is problematic. So I'd much rather have our budget document be something that is realistic to what we're expecting. I am a big fan of the asterisks, and I will always, and this is the English major in me, I would much rather read the narrative. So when there are these kind of nuances and kind of idiosyncratic situations, an asterisk at the bottom of the page explains it, can solve a lot of confusion. But I do, and I know we're circling around this McKinney-Vento a great deal. I'm not aware of any kind of cut that happened to that funding. So what is the grant that went away that's taking the liaison position from a grant into our local budget?
And it's just to follow up on Ms. Martin's
Sorry.
question as well. If we didn't have the money in last year, and the money came in after the budget last year, would it be similar again this year in the cycle?
I don't know for sure, Mr. Mayor. Dr. Phillips, are you able to shed light on it?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, school committee members. So we did have grants, emergency grants similar to ESSER, that were provided from the federal government for McKinney-Vento, which are now ending or ended in the school year since it's on a different fiscal timeline.
Okay, so it's federal funding then that we're not anticipating for next year? I mean, I know that this is a crazy time, so that's the case?
Yes, that's correct. Some of the McKinney-Vento federal funding has ended related to COVID.
Okay, okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Bahu?
Last year, 2023, 2024, we had community school coordinators cut from 9 to 5, which took on the role as community school managers. So we are currently at 5, and it looks like we're going to increase it, or the proposal is to increase it by 3. Looks like we're going to increase it by 1 on the general fund and by 2 in grants.
That's correct.
Let me ask, last year we cut them from 9 to 5, and this year we're looking to increase them from 5 to 8.
Right.
With a greater salary, but that's neither here nor there.
Mhm.
So please share with me, and other than, and I understand that there's 2 coming in extra for grants, but why would we then add even 1 more to our general fund?
Understood. So part of the answer is that the position, I believe, has become more valued. In the past year alone, there's been a lot of attention that was drawn to the community schools program at the Butler School that's considered to be very successful. We had school committee members and press events at the Sullivan School. We had just last week a national figure, the president of the ATF, her name is Randy Weingarten, renowned across the state, nation, was visiting the Green Alge School. So the community schools manager positions have become more valued. That's part of it. Another part is that this time last year, I referred to many times, I've been saying that we were in a fiscal cliff. We were short $14 million. And several schools chose to make some of the reductions in those positions. The positions this year, all of them, the local and the grant ones, have been chosen by schools to be in their budget books. So again, it's another one of these cases where the schools with their school site councils and their principals, and so on, they work through how they're going to spend their dollars, and they've chosen to have a community schools manager. We actually think it's a very positive development, even though it's the opposite of what occurred last year.
And I understand increasing it by 2, especially that they're grant funded, but, you know,
Is your mic on, Mr. Bahu?
my mic is on.
Okay, great.
So when we're looking to add one more, and we're looking to, you know, possibly cut paraprofessionals, looking to cut our Twilight program, which is direct ties to our students before school and after school, it just seems to me that the additional money that's spent of about $100,000 that's not grant funded is not the best use of our money, when we can go directly at the students. And I understand community school managers create, you know, some benefits, but, you know, to me, it's adding a little bit more of administration, and they're not touching the students as much as, you know, the paraprofessionals or the Twilight program, the after-school programs and such like that.
So, yeah, the community schools managers provide a huge service to schools. They sort of like, they increase the value of the work that's happening in schools from academics and learning to various services, health services, access to mental health services after school and so on. And they're services that are accessed by the students and by their families. And so they're really valuable positions. And again, it's like school-based decisions around what they have. So if you talk about, for instance, the Twilight program, that's funding set aside from central office. That's part of, like, when we talk about funding, keep the classroom funding and not central office. That's what we're talking about. That's what leads to a reduction in Twilight and an increase in community schools managers. The schools are making that choice. They believe that those services are very valuable for the students and community.
Ms. Doherty?
If I could just add from my perspective, I was one of the proponents last year in trying to keep some of those community schools, community managers or whatever the title is, because I think we've seen nationally that they have an impact because they do those wraparound services with the family and support. So I think it's worth keeping it. And of course, I'm coming from the perspective that we're going to get the funding that we need. We're not done discussing it with the city. They haven't even had their public hearing on it. But I think those positions are valuable.
Okay. I'd like to put a motion to put one on hold, just because of the increase from 5 to 8. It's over a 38% increase of the amount of bodies. So if we could go ahead and, if I could have a motion to put one on hold.
Once again, Mr. Bahu, we will take on board what the committee chooses. I want people to understand that one will be at some school somewhere who's chosen to have one. And if, let's say, we cut that position, 8 others will be in schools that also chose them, you know, and it's like, it's hard to, it's not from central law. We're not dictating that they have it, neither you nor I. The schools have chosen it. If we cut one, some school chose to have that position, 9 schools did. We'd only allow 8 schools to do it, and we'd pick one school and say, yeah, sorry, you can't do it. It doesn't seem, it seems arbitrary.
So why don't we just add them to all the schools?
Because not all the schools have chosen to have it. Not all the
It just seems like we're increasing, you know, by a very large number. And and we're looking to make cuts on this budget,
And so the schools
which
have,
are impacting
Right.
our students.
so when we went back to the schools about the cuts, no school said, you know what, take my community schools manager off, right? None of them said that. If they did, we would reduce it. The schools have vouched, the 8 schools have vouched for this position for next year.
From what thank you.
Last year, our community school managers in the previous budget were making $70,000 apiece. This budget, we're looking to pay them over 95.
So,
I'm looking at community school coordinators in 22-23 budget.
right,
9 of them at $630,000. Now we're looking to have 8 of them for $700,000, $800,000, which is 90 times 7.
so I can explain, yeah, they're teachers, they're teacher positions. And so since last year's amount, whatever that was, the teachers, from last year's amount to the amount that we have budgeted for next year, there are 2 or 3 raises that have worked in there. So in the fall, when the new contract was agreed with our teachers union, the teachers received a raise that wasn't accounted for in May, but at least it wasn't accounted for in teacher salaries in May. They received an increment, I believe, in January, and now we're accounting for another one, and actually for 2 more for next year. So raises are in there. Mr. Bahu, in addition to that, which I know you can calculate,
I've got it right here.
but there's one other factor. Because it's a teacher position, if say somebody left the position and another teacher was chosen to hire, the amount the person is paid depends on how veteran that teacher is and where that teacher is on the pay scale. If a veteran teacher left a community schools position, they could be paid close to $100,000. And if they were being replaced by a rookie teacher, they might be paid $55,000 to $60,000, and you'd see the amount go down. This amount suggests that somewhere along the line, a new teacher who was hired was a veteran teacher, one of the ones on the higher end of the scale, or maybe several of them, right? So it varies by the level of longevity of a teacher.
I'd like to put in a motion, and if I could get a second, to reduce the community school managers from 8 in 2025, 2024, 2026 to 7. If I could get a second.
I'm going to second it, but may I speak? Thank you. From what I noticed is that, could I cite Mr. Bahu, that last year we had 5 community schools managers, and this coming school year will be 8. But I think we have only 6 community schools. That means some schools have more than 1.
No, next year we'll have more community schools. With each school has 1.
Okay, so next year will be 8 community schools?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I be clear about what we're voting on, Mr. Bahu? Are you suggesting that we take a position away and put it in suspense, or we just take it away permanently?
Put it in suspense.
Thank you.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much. I would just like to say, I'm willing to support the motion, but I will say, where we're putting it in suspense, I will say I've been really impressed with the community schools model. I think that I actually think it's really an impressive thing that another school has chosen to go this route. The idea of being able to build this kind of support system in our schools that connect families and children and families to the kind of resources that they need to be successful. I mean, I just think that's a great investment. And I think that, again, this is one of those situations where the schools are telling us what's impactful for them. it's, it's convenient when it agrees with us. But sometimes we have to kind of, if we're looking for site-based management, which I think we are, that we want the people who are on the front lines making these choices. I, for one, would be looking to continue this, and allow this new school to move into the community school space. But I'm certainly willing to get additional information on it. So just to kind of clarify my vote to support Mr. Bahu's motion.
Okay, and thank you for that. And based on my sidebar that I'm having with my school committee members, as well as listening to my school committee team, I'm going to withdraw that motion simply because it seems like everybody supports it, so.
Motion withdrawn. The second was withdrawn. Mr. Lay, you okay with that? Excellent. Any other comments concerning section 23 and 24, 3100? So we have a new number then. The new number to approve is $4,432,441 with the rest was a restoration of the two positions that the superintendent spoke of when he first started. So I need a new motion to approve by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Page 25, 3300, Transportation. A motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the bottom line figure of $15,319,012 made by Mr. Lay, seconded by Mr. Conway. Any questions or comments, Mr. Superintendent? Anything new on this page?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think there's a lot here for me to explain. I can point out to you that on line 277, you'll notice a significant increase in transportation costs for special education. I think the committee understands that those costs have been increasing. And the only other worthwhile point here is lines 279 and 280 actually can be collapsed and belong together. So you see on the new for fiscal 26 on line 280, the figure of 15,340 is really a combination of those two lines. I'll take any questions.
It's a pretty straightforward section. Mr. Lay?
Yes, I did make a note on 277 that the increase from 5 million even to 7,791,000. I'm wondering, the increase is because have we overspent the 5 million this year?
We sometimes budget for next year based on actuals this year. I think in this case, it's mostly predicated on the increase in costs that we know that the percentage increase that we anticipate.
So on the special ed transportation, we don't get any grants or get any aid from the state or from federal?
No, not. I think that the clearest answer right now is no. We're certainly lobbying statewide for that, and I've been supported in that by many other area superintendents who are facing the same thing. So we're looking for other solutions, and we're lobbying the state for changes. If I may, I don't know if I think this will be of interest to the committee regarding the Sapasara School, which we'll eventually stop calling Jeanne d'Arc, right? But it's the Sapasara School. Each time we increase classrooms at that school, 4 were added last year. I think 4 more are being added this year in the convent section, which is not the main school. We are providing services that ultimately prevent students from going out of district. And so out of district costs are about $60,000 per student, the average, plus the transportation. So the more we work on increasing space in town, like the Sapasara School and building that out, the more we can keep services and students here and service them rather than out-of-district costs. The out-of-district costs will never go away. We will need services for some students that we don't provide in Lowell, but we can help ourselves by increasing the space for programs like the 80 School.
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you. Just 2 quick questions. line 253, the Parent Academy Director, that is a position that we're not recommending. So that's one of the cuts that we're not recommending be put back, correct?
So that position was offered to be reduced last year, and the committee chose to restore it. The person in the position resigned mid-year, and it was not restored. The person in the position resigned mid-year and was not replaced, because we wanted to give the committee that choice. So yes, we're suggesting that the position be eliminated.
And then on 254, graduation mentors and attendance intervention, last year it was 240,000. You're dropping it by 1 to 66,000?
So we explained that a little earlier, Ms. Doherty.
Oh, did I miss that? Sorry.
I'll repeat it.
We're on page 25 right now, transportation.
Okay.
We already approved 23 and 24. No, it's okay. Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 years.
All right. Page 26,
27.
27, 28. All three together, correct? 26, 27, 28?
27, no. 27. 26. 26
Okay, I
doesn't
got
have
it.
a bottom line. It's just arrow mark
I have a bottom line.
of 0. There's no money attached. That's all good. For arrow mark? I have 0. It's a grant, huh?
Okay, yeah.
We never voted on. We have to vote on the grants now? For arrow mark? We never did in the past. I don't think we have to vote on it.
All right, so I have, this is, maybe
not in our
the
budget.
committee can help me out. So everybody sees page 26? Mr. Superintendent, you get that? Dr. Pinto, you see that as well?
I beg your pardon. Page 26?
Yes.
Is there something particular you're pointing out, or just the page?
No, so I don't have a number here to approve.
Oh, I see.
So just take the 10 million, so to the $10 million, that number? Because it's food services, you can speak.
Dr. Pinto,
Yeah.
please.
Go ahead.
The food service account, we receive funding from Aramark, so it's paid completely through grants in the,
So just vote to accept it then. Great. And I need a motion to approve $10,808,615 by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Doherty. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 years.
All right, there's some headway here. Pages 27 and 28, 3500, athletic and student activities. The motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the bottom line figure of $1,848,532 by Mr. Lay, second by Mr. Conway. Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we'll point to, on page 27, line 290, there's a significant reduction in the afternoon, the arts program. I'll give you my understanding of that. My understanding of the afternoon, the arts program is it was established that funding was established by the school committee to provide for middle schoolers to receive arts programming at the high school. And that it occurs in examples like the band program, where middle school band students come to the Monday night band at the high school and so on. But there are not other, there was anticipated to be other offerings that didn't materialize. And so, the funds were used by the high school, but not, I think the original intent was for there to be other programming for middle schoolers that never materialized. And so the real cost is $50,000 for next year.
So that's to keep the band,
Correct.
middle school band program, because we've had that forever.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll also point out on line 296 that that is a stipend. I need Dr. Pinto to explain that, if you would, please, on 296. Or Ms. DuPont.
Doesn't look like a stipend. It's a $92,000 stipend?
Thank you. That's a teacher who is now rolled up to the teacher line and had received a stipend previously
Right.
for this work. That's, I'm sorry, that's at the high school.
A position in 92,000 was rolled into the high school teachers.
That's
Correct. It was already a high school teacher, but it was listed separately here as an advisor. If I'm not mistaken, the teacher works after school to provide services after school. Also, perhaps the committee will be interested in line 299. Idea Camp was this subject of various discussions at central office this year. It's a popular program, but it's very high cost for a small number of students, and many of those students are not Lowell students. They come to the program from other districts. We allow them to do that and to pay, but the overall cost is significant. Project Learn has been involved in it with us, and Project Learn has agreed to continue with, it's a lesser program for less weeks than previously, but we are not funding it going forward. I'll
Conway?
take any questions.
Yeah, just a quick question through you to the superintendent. I just wanted to get some clarification on that. The student activity advisor, now that still is in existence, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, because when I saw that, I said to myself, that individual has direct contact with so many different programs and whatever, and I'm saying that would be a Herculean task to get it right, should we say, you know? Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call, Madam Clerk. Oh, that's right, Ms. Bond, go ahead.
Very much. And it does cycle back to that student activity advisor. The thought process in shifting that to a teacher role, I mean, my concern on that is that it doesn't as accurately describe the position as this one. I mean, if the person's in a, looking at even the job title alone tells you what that person is doing, lumping them in with hundreds of other teachers doesn't really accurately describe the position. Was there a thought process in making that shift?
Dr. Pinto?
I'll ask if Ms. Dupont has anything further to offer on this one.
Thank you for the question. So this particular person is a teacher. He also teaches classes at the high school. The advisor position was paid as a stipend, was not an actual FTE salary. So he receives a stipend, which is included in the student activity stipend line 297, right below it.
But
So, and how much is that for? It does appear, how does it appear here now?
So it's in the stipends line, the student activities LHS stipends line. I could look up how much he currently makes according to the salary grid. It was a UTL negotiated stipend.
we could, Ms. Martin, to your point, we could restore it to the way we counted for it before. If you think it's clearer to just call it that, and we might put an asterisk that it's a teacher paid plus a stipend, right? And that would make it, but we could keep it in that line if you wish. Yes.
And he's not getting that whole stipend. Other people who do things at Lowell High are getting that at different points.
That's correct.
He's just getting a chunk of that on top of, he's probably now a certified teacher and getting his salary for being a teacher and serving his classes and then doing his after-school activities.
If he's doing a full.
And then, but not all $149,000 of it.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, just a quick question through you to the superintendent. Let me see if I get this straight. Does he have a full schedule?
I don't believe so. I don't believe he does, but I believe my understanding is he teaches. He's listed as a teacher and teaches some courses. I don't know how many.
Yeah, because that job prior, when Sue Feynman had it, she wasn't teaching, and then I think they might have changed it to 2 classes.
Yeah, something like that. That's right.
Right, because again, there's so much involved.
That's right.
If you had a full schedule, I have no idea how you could do the job.
Right. I'm quite sure he
Is there
does
any
not.
type of clarification on how many classes? I mean, I would assume it's only 2.
Certainly,
Right.
certainly.
Thank you.
Ms. Martin?
And I think to that point, I mean, you know, again, I think we all recognize the importance of the position, so that's certainly not under discussion at all. I'd just like it to be more clearly represented so that we, like, where we see the expenses where they're actually being applied. So if it was a matter of doing an allocation of 20% of the time is teacher time, 80% is student activities, whatever that may be, that then it would be represented here as a 0.8 and teacher would be a 0.2.
That makes sense.
You know, and the teacher, I mean, obviously it gets kind of subsumed in the whole morass of many, many teachers, but here it would show exactly where those dollars are being spent. So that's just, I guess, more of a recommendation so that we can have a more accurate understanding of, like, because for me, it's important to know how much you're actually spending on an activity.
Right.
So,
We're happy to do that, Mr. Martin.
thank you.
Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Page 29, 4,000, custodial and security services. A motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and to approve the bottom line figure of $9,404,872. No, we just did 27 and 28. That was the
Yeah.
athletics and student activities section. By Mr. Bahu, second by Mr. Conway. Mr. Bahu.
I think we have a speaker on that. Mr. Sheehan, from the custodian department.
Can I suspend the rules? Thanks.
I promise I'll be short and sweet. Thank you. Michael Shan, Chapter Chair for UTL, custodians / security guards. Obviously, we're a $400 million renovation over at the high school, or close to it. This is now in year 2, and we still haven't added any extra custodial service. I think we have about 100,000 square feet that will be coming online next year in August. And then in January, we have the other half of the 22 coming online. So I'll point you to a couple lines where I think that we might be able to use some of the monies that were budgeted. Line 319 looks like an increase of 105,000. Line 320, we're looking at an increase of 230,000. It roughly gives us somewhere in the 335,000 number. I would hope that maybe we could use some of those monies to add custodial service over the high school. There was one decrease, but I think that's from Central, from last year to this year, from 96 to 95. Also at the new Sapasara School, or Jean d'Arc, I don't know what we're calling it these days, there is no custodian over there. You know, we're using overtime monies every single day. Clearly, that school is going to be used in a bigger role next year. I haven't seen anybody's ever hasn't addressed that at all. So I'm not quite sure where we're going to move forward on that, but I think there should be a position over there. So thank you for your time.
You want to start off by explaining the overtime for 18 and 19, Mr. Superintendent? I'm sorry, for 19 and 20, 319, 320?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Sheehan made some very good points. So Jean d'Arc School, Sapasara School is not yet open, except for a few classrooms that we've added. And so there wasn't a full-time custodian added for that school, but yet we had to clean the few classrooms that we have. So the line 319 is considerably higher because we've had to continually pay, as Mr. Sheehan said, for somebody to go over and clean the classes, who's not, it's not a full-time, it's a full-time custodian from another school who's paid overtime to clean the Sapasaurus. And so that's a reason, and it's continual, it's every day. And so that's why that exists. If the committee prefers, we should hire a separate custodian for that school, but we'd be hiring a separate custodian for, you know, a handful of classrooms. So we'll take the committee's guidance on that. So we could look at the custodian covering 2 schools. In a sense, that's what's happening, because the custodian who's in a school goes to do Jeanne d'Arc and is paid overtime for it. It's similar. No, right. Also, for line 320, the figure, the much larger figure for next year is based on actuals, which may also support Mr. Sheehan's point that we're paying a lot of overtime. Perhaps we need additional custodians. I don't have an answer to that, but I think Mr. Sheehan made some good points.
So how'd you go with that number then?
We based it on actuals, Mr. Mayor. So when you look at what did we spend for custodial overtime this past year, we way overspent the 70,000. We spent closer to 300,000, and so that became the figure to budget for the following year.
Dory?
I don't think it makes sense to spend that kind of money on overtime when you just need to increase your staff to do the work. I mean, I think the points about the expanded facilities, we need to clean them. And if you create a job that is, you're going to be split between 2 schools to start, you know, for the part-time work that's needed at the Sapasaurus school.
Sure. What other school, Ms. Doherty? Right. It's just that there may not be a position to split it with. If you like, I understand the conundrum. I understand Mr. Sheehan's point. If it pleases the committee, we'll take a look at it and come back with a recommendation.
Do we need a motion for that?
I suggest.
I mean, because that's $500,000 we're talking
Right.
about.
I suggest you put lines 319 and 320 in suspense, which would allow the committee the choice to spend that money differently.
Right. And I think I would do some research in terms of what makes sense in adding staff, maybe in a rollout process, you know.
Sure.
So that motion, Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Seconded by Ms. Martin. Ms. Martin?
Second, but if I could also just add a point, because I do think, you know, obviously we're in a period of expansion. So I do think that we may want to, and I do not know if this position exists within the union contract, but we might want to consider creating a part-time position. I would think that there could be people that could be really interested in a 20-hour-a-week custodial role that would allow us, I think, to Ms. Doherty's point, to kind of grow into these spaces. But I suspect we don't have that on the books right now, so it'd be something we'd need to negotiate what that would look like. But I think moving forward, it kind of makes some sense that, you know, certainly with the Sapasaurus school, I think that would apply. But I also think as the high school, as more and more of the space comes online, it's going to be kind of gradiated. You know, we're going to be moving into space over time, so that if we had those positions, that could be A, appealing in the long term, but B, could also be appealing for someone trying to get into the district as an entry-level kind of position that may grow into a full-time position. But I think, you know, so I think that over time we'd need to negotiate with the union how to create that kind of a part-time role, but it would give us some added flexibility. And I think, again, to some of the points that have been made, paying a part-time role is much more efficient than the kind of overtime and man-out that we've been paying up till this point.
I think it's great thinking, Ms. Martin. I appreciate the ideas, and we'll pursue them. Thank you.
On the motion, roll call?
Mr. Bajo?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Del Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Any other comments concerning 29? Mr. Lay?
Just a clarification on the last line, 329, safety contracted services. Just wondering, what is that?
Thank
Is
you.
that
So we, in the last, I believe it was last year or so, we've added a safety coordinator in Lowell without any budget. And so she has continually come to us with, for example, there are wheelchairs necessary that bring a child in a wheelchair down the stairs in an emergency when you can't use an elevator. So we have students stuck upstairs somewhere. So we purchased some of those wheelchairs for schools, and they are expensive. There are supplies associated with CPR and various trainings and so forth. There was no line item for that person's budget. When we started to think about it, and she helped us out to put the line together, we had $400,000 in it. And we cut as much as we could down to 198. So it's a line that didn't exist before, but it's we were spending money on supplies that just weren't coded as safety coordinator supplies.
So this is for one person?
It's across the district, Mr. Lay. Across the district, CPR training, across the district, wheelchairs, cameras for schools, school radios, and so forth.
Thank you.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes, it also states in here that we're losing one building custodian, and I'd like to put that in suspense just because of what we just spoke about. If I can put a motion on the floor for that.
Thank you, Ms. Del Rossi. Excuse me, may I comment on that, Mr. Mayor? There was a custodian assigned to central office, and that custodian, we no longer use that service. The service is provided by the owner of the building, and so that's the one position that was reduced. That person has moved to a school, but it certainly fits in with the other discussion if we want to put it in abeyance, I guess, right? So we could add it back in.
I just think especially with expanding and the new high school, it's just better to be safe than sorry.
Certainly.
So we're cutting jobs in other areas, but you want to restore another one here?
What?
So the job doesn't exist anymore, but you want to add it anyway?
Oh, that's a good point. So, but Ms. Del Rossi, I think to your point that we will be able to address it by putting the other funds into suspense. We'll come back with a recommendation, which we have the option of creating another position later from the overtime funds if we come back with that recommendation.
They're not going to put it in at central office. Okay, X that out.
Thank you.
Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Del Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke? 7 yeas.
All right, moving right along, page 30, 5100, 5200, employee benefits and retirements. We need a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and to approve the bottom line figure of $29,824,808 by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Ms. Rossi. Questions or comments? Pretty self-explanatory, this one.
Yeah.
Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bahu? Yes. Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Del Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Remaining on page 30, we have the 5350 rental of buildings. I need a motion to accept the recommendation of $894,356 by Mr. Conway, seconded by Mr. Lay. Questions or comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Bahu?
I'm sorry.
Quick
Yes.
question.
Hold on. So usually when I say questions or comments, you raise your hand, but go ahead.
Last two items, 342, let's start with 342, the after that program. I thought that's a grant money, isn't it?
Superintendent?
The After Dark program is not a grant program, Mr. Lay.
It never was. Okay, somehow. And again, the early college promise, that $400,000.
So we need to look at that because I think there was an assumption that there wouldn't be a cost because the community college courses are free in Massachusetts. I think that is an error in that there would be associated costs even if the courses didn't charge. But we need to take another look at that.
So we move it to a buy-in.
You can if you wish, yes? Yes?
Okay. Make it a motion. Okay, so I make a motion and Ms. Martin second.
Oh, yes, you have a second as motion, Mr. Martin?
Yes, yes. We discussed
Which we do that way?
I appoint her to second the motion.
So you're moving, what's the dollar amount?
So we're increasing the budget by $400,000.
Early college.
Well, we actually are not increasing the budget. When we put something in abeyance when there's no money associated, it just means that we have an opportunity to look at it and offer the committee options around restoring it by cutting something else, Mr. Mayor, or restoring it when we receive further funds.
Or finding out how much it would cost.
That's correct. Yeah. Thank you.
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke? 7 yeas.
Now we get all the different.
Ms. Bahu?
Yeah, just one question about the After Dark program. It looks like there's an increase of about $130,000 or so. Any specific reasons why?
So I believe, I think there are two, and one is that it was more expensive this year than was anticipated, and the second is that there's additional programming being added. I'd need to get details to support what I'm suggesting, but those are the two rationale that I'm aware of.
Do we have more students in the program?
Again, I'd have to, I know it's a program we've been trying to increase, and I can't say offhand. Dr. Fox-Roy, do you know, please?
I know that we're trying to increase numbers on that program, but I would have to get more specific information if you needed actual numbers.
Okay, no, I don't. We can talk offline about that. Thank you.
Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Okay. Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Remaining on page 30, 7,000 capital outlay. Make a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the bottom line figure of $500,000. Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Rossi. Questions? Mr. Lay, any questions? We're still doing the capital outlay now.
Thirty.
30. Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay? Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
So, we'll go page 31. Page 31.
Page 31 is out of district. It's right here. 10,000.
Oh, but I don't have it, I don't have it on the sheet here.
You don't have it? Oh, I'm sorry.
So just go ahead, go with that one. Okay.
Yeah, read mine. Out of
Yeah,
district.
yeah. So, page 31, we have, out of district, 9,000 series.
suspense?
Need a motion to approve, the bottom line of, am I going 10?
Out of district. 10 million, yep. Nope, just 10 million.
Okay, yeah. About $10,333,486 by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Ms. Martin. Any questions or comments on page 31? Page 31, we're on?
We have discussed it, Mr. Mayor, just,
Go ahead, Mr. President.
Yes.
Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay? Ms. Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
So, is that the increase then? We added to that tonight, correct?
I have it right here. This is my-
Okay, all right. Do I need a motion to to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and to approve the bottom line figure of $3,992,638 of the suspense account by Mr. Rossi, second by Mr. Conway. Any questions, comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
So I have a bottom line figure here.
Yeah, I need a new
Budget change
bottom
as
line
well.
figure. No, because you added a district support specialist, and can I have that little thing back?
What'd you like?
The 3,000,009,
Oh, I crossed it out.
that's all right. 992? Okay, so it's 272, 987. That's the new one.
All right. Now, we need a motion to approve the Lowell Public Schools FY '26 final bottom line figure of $272,853,989 to be submitted to the city manager.
Mr. Mayor, may I have a question? May I have a
You want to
question?
first or second it and then ask a question, or?
I have a question, I'm not seconding. Just have a question. Now, if we vote on this bottom number, does that mean we accept that 10 million that the city have given us?
It,
Doesn't. They can come back and vote on another number.
Do you want me to explain to him? Go ahead, please.
so it means, Mr. Lay, that that's the figure we're working with tonight. It doesn't preclude us from working with the city to increase that amount.
Thank you. Just wanna,
$272,853,989 to be submitted to the city manager by Mr. Conway, second by Ms. Doherty. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Bahu? Yes. Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Great, thank you. The motion to adjourn to return to the regularly scheduled meeting by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Doherty. Roll call. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's two thoughts in my mind. And one is to thank the committee for working with us through the process, including and particularly for your questions. I appreciate your engagement with us through the budget process and that we got through much of it tonight. I'd also like to ask you to give us some guidance on how you'd like us to handle suspense and abeyance positions. The next meeting following this one will be cancelled due to Lowell High School graduation. And as always, people's positions, hiring, etc., is on hold until we resolve those matters. So I wanted to ask you again, how would you like us to process suspense and abeyance positions? As soon as you are ready, we will come back to you with guidance and recommendations.
Any comments from the committee?
The 4th of June.
You could do the one.
The schedule from the council's perspective, so if we were, I know you're going to have your ongoing budget conversations. When do those wrap up?
Next Tuesday.
So if we were looking at maybe the 11th for us to reconvene, then we'd have the council's most updated information. If we'd want to schedule whether that's a budget hearing to continue this until the 11th, and then we'd have to make our final choices about what's held in abeyance and what's held in suspense.
Yes, Ms. Martin. Also for the committee to be fully transparent, whenever we have that next meeting, if we don't have additional funds between now and then, we will be making reductions. We'll be issuing pink slips to some staff, right? So I just want to be transparent about that. If you care to, you can also advise if if for some reason if we are successful in receiving further funding between now and then, you could authorize us to bring back positions and spend the budget according to the tier system that we've given you. Otherwise, we'd need to have a meeting in order to bring people in and stop the pink slips.
Yeah, that's what I would anticipate doing on the 11th, that we'd make the determination of based on the tiers, if they're, and then moving
Understood.
forward from there.
And the additional information that was requested tonight about
Understood.
some of the positions that were put in suspense
Yes.
or abeyance. And my motion for tonight, if we have more information by then as well.
Of course.
So I think we would have to poll, could everybody do a meeting on June 11? We had talked about doing a subcommittee that night, looking at the school improvement
Yeah, I'm
subcommittee.
pretty open on the 11th.
And we could maybe start earlier and have the subcommittee before we have our meeting
Sure,
on the
I could do
11th.
it earlier, but I think one of our members may not be available.
Oh, we said 6, didn't
We
we?
did.
Did you do
yes.
earlier than 6? No.
I could,
What's the Halloween
we
till the 19th?
wanted to do 5.
So maybe we do the school committee meeting at 6 and then do the subcommittee after that.
Sure, that would work out perfectly.
Just so I'm clear, you were talking about, this school committee would be on June 11th at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
And that would be, we'd have all the information from the city and,
And sure, we could have the subcommittee meeting at 7:30. Right after the school committee.
right.
Because it's not a regularly scheduled school committee, it's the end of our budget.
Yeah, it would be a continuation of this budget hearing, right?
Right.
I'm asking. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I think it is. It'd be a separate meeting?
So given that we have the bottom line as
Okay.
It would have to be a special meeting, that's all.
It's just,
But it wouldn't be a continuation of the budget hearing?
No, because we just closed the budget hearing.
right.
Okay,
We
okay.
have-
We've already adjourned.
Perfect.
So we just have to have a special meeting, but at any time, a new number can be voted on.
Okay.
Right.
I think that number will come when the state's done their budget. I wouldn't expect, don't hold your breath next Tuesday night from the city side. I mean, I hope, that'd be great, but chances are, you're probably looking at the end of June. Again, this happened last year too, if I'm correct, Mr. Superintendent, the same thing happened last year. We waited for the
Yes.
state budget to come in,
That's right, Mr. Mayor.
and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that.
Ad infinitum.
But I do think that the question that we have to answer is the city money. So, I mean, I think that once the city has gone through their process, I think we'd be able to make a pretty reasonable determination by the 11th. Recognizing that the state, I mean, the state can blow up in 100 different ways. Yeah. But I don't think we're going to,
As well as, I don't know if you need to vote on that, but we obviously are not going to poll for the meeting if we're agreeing on it
We
tonight.
agree on the 11th.
Is it
We want to
agreed?
replace the 18th meeting with the 11th then?
You want to just make it the 18th?
No, I mean, if we want to make it the 11th, I mean, it doesn't make a difference either way.
Yeah, so why don't we move it to the 11th?
Sure.
And if we need to add the 16th after that, so be it. But it's-
Okay.
So for the
See
moment,
what you're saying, just, okay,
we're canceling the 18th and is scheduling the 11th.
right, unless we need to add it back in,
Understood.
depending on what we need to cover. I think we also have a joint facility, city council meeting scheduled for June. I want to just make sure that gets on, we had agreed on a date.
I believe it's June 17th.
This is
June
17th,
17th,
right, so it
okay.
doesn't clash.
And then in terms of Superintendent Skinner's questions about format, I think it would be helpful for me if we had one list of all the positions that we put in abeyance and the cost, and one list of the ones that are in suspense and the cost, and then information, additional information that we had asked for some of those positions, a plan about what you would do with the 500,000 in man out and overtime, as you have an
Yes,
opportunity.
we will prepare for the meeting with everything that you just said and all of the questions that were asked tonight. somewhat similar, we took questions from the previous meeting and provided answers. We'll take it that approach, as well as you said, the accounting for suspense positions and abeyance and so forth.
So a motion by Ms. Doherty to make the June 11th, June 18th meeting, move it up to June 11th, and to cancel the June 18th meeting. Second by Ms. Martin. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Delay? Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Okay, return.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, we're still in the meeting.
So the motion to adjourn and return to regular scheduled meeting does not need a roll call. It's just all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 6, city council motions, school committee motions. 6.1 by Ms. Doherty, request the superintendent provide the committee with the memorandum of understanding between the city and the schools regarding maintenance of effort, as well as the 2023-2024 memorandum of agreement report. In addition, provide the committee with the 2024-2025 MOE report as soon as available from the city and prior to certification. Seconded by Mr. Lay. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, and I will be quick. I know it's late. It's been a long day for all of us. I've been very much thinking about what we can do, what areas we do have control over, and that has prompted me to look into the whole, the memorandum of agreement regarding the maintenance of effort report, because I'm not sure if my colleagues are aware, but, we have steadily been reducing how much cash we get from the city. And it is only by the cash that we're able to purchase the positions. The maintenance of effort in FY 19-20 was 33% of the budgeted amount that the state had designated the city needs to contribute to the education of our children. This proposed amount is 14%. In the last 2 years, we've been hovering at 22%. So I think we really need to take a look at the whole maintenance of effort piece, because I think it's important for people to remember these numbers that the state comes up with, they're based on the needs of our children and what the state considers are the resources we need to provide the education. And the maintenance of effort, I can just tell you one story that I heard of, that it's become kind of a joke at City Hall, like just bill it to the schools. And the story that I'm thinking about was during the pandemic, that the maintenance of effort report comes out, and there is a report that's provided to the superintendent, I believe it's in the fall, right, that you get it, and we then submit it to the state. And there's still some nuances. I know Dr. Pinto is going to contact DESE about what exactly is our role in terms of the school side, the superintendent certifying or just submitting. What are the rules about what is acceptable to charge off as maintenance of effort? There are limits in spending, such as if you spend a huge amount on a purchase that, let's say it's a complete heating system for a school, that's considered part of maintaining the building, because we are using the buildings, but the city owns the buildings, and it's their responsibility to keep the buildings in working order. So I think that part of what we need to do is get more information. But the story that I wanted to share that I heard was during the pandemic, when nobody was in the schools, the maintenance of effort report came out, and it had multiple charges for fire safety happening in the schools when there was nobody in the schools. So I think there has been, through the years, as we've seen the city cash contribution get reduced and the maintenance of effort amount get increased. We're at 50 million for this school year, 50 million in maintenance of effort for our buildings. And I can just speak for myself. I have been trying for years to get the elevators working at the Bartlett School, to get shades, and and we know that a lot of the school buildings in the city, not just the school buildings, need repair. But to say 50 million in maintenance of effort, when I got a call from a teacher last night that we still don't have those chairlifts working, so what does that mean? We're talking money and positions, and we've been doing that all night, numbers. Well, there are children at the Bartlett School right now in wheelchairs that can't participate in the school music program, which is happening like in the next week or so. I don't have the date, because they can't get up on the stage. You know, we're talking about children, the children in our community, and providing them with an education. It's important not only to those families whose kids go to our school, or those of us who live here and pay taxes here, that we need to build the community for the future. These are today's students are tomorrow's leaders. We saw it when we met with the high school advisory group today. Kids going off to college, they're going to become tomorrow's future here in the city. And so I think it's really important that the city does not make a joke about let's charge it to the school department, but actually funds what the state has determined, very intricate formula, complex formula, are the resources we need to educate our children. So I appreciate your support and moving forward and looking at what we can control about the maintenance of effort piece, and starting to really educate ourselves about what are the rules about maintenance of effort and what is the role in terms of, you know, do we have a right to say, as our speaker mentioned earlier in the evening, we need an audit of this. We need to have these numbers looked at, because we're not going to continue to try to do this work without the resources needed to do it. So thank you.
Well, the speaker earlier should have known that every year an audit is done by an outside agency. It's gone through DESI as well.
Well, maybe an independent audit.
It's
is
an
what I
outside, it's
meant.
an outside audit that's done every year. Any other comments? I mean, you can get up there and just, you know, pontificate about, you know, what's this and what's that and possible, you know, misgivings, but I mean, every single year, and as a school committee person, I'm sure you know this, that all those are done by DESI and by an outside audit every single year. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 7, report to the superintendent. 7.1, strategic plan draft. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I won't delay the committee. It's quite a shame that we're introducing a really terrific item at a really late hour. I won't go on about it, but we have finished more or less our strategic plan for the next 5 years. It comes in, we have it in your packet in 2 forms. One is a narrative form, and the other one is a form for online that will involves various slides and pictorials that can be flipped through online. We're very proud of it. And one person who's not here tonight, Miss Crocker-Roberge, deserves a great deal of credit for all year long working on this with the provider and bringing our cabinet together for various components, as well as some of the principals who are on our steering committee. Just drawing attention to it, not giving it the attention it deserves. I'd love to walk you through it, but this is it. We'll bring it back to you in June for final approval. But please, in the meantime, if you have comments, send them to us so that we can make adjustments if you'd like. Thank you.
I need a motion to accept the report of the superintendent as a report of progress by Mr. Lay, seconded by Mr. Conway. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 8, new business. 8.1, approval to accept and expend allocated FY25 awards. Need a motion to approve, accept, and expend by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty? Yes. Mr. Lay? Yes. Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
7 yeas.
8.2, a vote regarding Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 37M. I need a motion to approve. This is to create a combined facilities department by Ms. Bahu, seconded by Mr. Conway. Ms. Doherty.
Oh, excuse me. If we could have a speaker, Mr. Sheehan would like to say a couple of words on this.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules again?
Mr. Mayor.
second by Mr. Conway. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Rourke. I appreciate it. So I was just in receipt of this today. Essentially, the asking the school committee to approve Section 71, or Mass General Law 71, Section 37. And I realize it's late in the night, but I want you to realize how important this is. If you do vote on this in the affirmative, I would ask you to vote in the negative on this. So I've worked for the school department for 30 years. Obviously, we all understand there's an issue with the facilities in the school. Essentially, what this will allow the city to do is to move all your custodians out of the school department over to the city, which I think is disrespectful, and I don't think there's need. I think what we really need to do is work as a committee on the school and the city to figure out the best way to fix the buildings, etc. So I would urge you to vote no, please.
I can give a background of how this came about and why it's on the agenda this evening. This has come from many motions over the past number of years on the city council side to create a facilities department. It was unanimously passed, 11-0, a couple weeks ago by the city council to bring it over to the school committee. The goal was to improve efficiency and work towards cost savings. If the school committee does vote to approve this evening, it just starts the negotiation process with the city manager and the superintendent. The MOU would need another public hearing conversation before anything is put in place permanently. And that's where, we were coming from on the city side was, cost savings and putting everybody under one umbrella. So that's where we came from the city council side, and now it's in the school committee's hands to continue the process. Again, nothing is set in stone with a affirmative vote here this evening. It's just to start the process of talking and to try to get to a point to where we're not going back and forth all the time. We create one department and go from there. So I'll take any questions or comments to the superintendent. You can ask now, or if you want to take a vote, that's up to the body. Yes, Ms. Martin.
And I appreciate you bringing it to us, Mr. Mayor. I will say I'm not prepared to move forward with it, so I wouldn't be voting to support it. I think that if we want to have those conversations, we can certainly have them, but I wouldn't be prepared to kind of make an affirmative vote now. But if the city would want to come back with more specifics, then I'd certainly be willing to consider it.
So the city has
I understand what you're saying. I absolutely get it. I absolutely do. But I would not be prepared to take an affirmative move right now. Thank you.
Mr. Bahu?
Sure, is what Mr. Sheehan stated, is that true, that the whole custodial staff of the school side would be under the jurisdiction of the city budget and away from the school budget?
Again, this vote here this evening by the school department, by the school committee, is just to start the process. We're not, if it gets to a point to where negotiations with the union and everything goes and back and forth, as any negotiation is, if it comes before us, there'll be another public hearing back, to discuss it, and then a vote will be taken. But tonight is just to start the process. It's all the city council did on Tuesday. Last Tuesday was to start the process. And again, the next step is, it has to come here to the school committee so the superintendent and the city manager can go forward. Again, nothing is, if a yes vote tonight doesn't mean that they go to DPW, doesn't mean anything. It just means you're able to start the process.
So could we delay this until we get more information from the city, as Ms. Martin recommended? It just seems like this is new, and I don't know that I'm prepared to go ahead and vote in the affirmative or negative with the information that I have.
Mr. Rossi?
The law also says administrative, payroll, maintenance, and I would just like specificity as according to administrative, payroll, maintenance. I just would seek more information as to what the plan is going forward.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Conway? No. Mr. Rossi?
No.
Ms. Doherty?
No.
Mr. Lay?
No.
Ms. Martin?
No.
Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
No.
1 yea, 6 nays.
8.3, budget modification request. The motion to approve the budget modification of $3,232,438.11 by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Mr. Lay. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Superintendent,
Mr.
go ahead.
Mayor.
May I, if you please, before we adjourn, there are two important announcements I think the committee will appreciate. One is that in the past week, the person we've been referring to as Miss Phillips has become Dr. Phillips. And I thought you'd like to know that, and I'd like to congratulate her publicly on her accomplishment. Well done, Miss Phillips. The second announcement I'm sure you'll appreciate also, Sarika Prak, Lowell High School extraordinary student, has been student representative on school committee. This is her last meeting of the year. That's an announcement in and of itself. However, I'd like you also to know Sarika has also already been accepted to UMass Lowell to study applied biomedical sciences and is the recipient of the prestigious Songus Award scholarship, which is a full boat scholarship to UMass Lowell. We're very, very proud of her, and we're honored to send her on her way. Thank you.
We should have gifts for the student.
Thank you.
Mr. Lay?
He stole my thunder.
Excellent, okay. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Lay, seconded by Ms. Martin. Have a good evening.